Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, however, wherever, whenever you're listening. This is the Root for Wisconsin Show, episode 171, coming at you from the Riverwood Gallery Studio in De Pere, Wisconsin. I'm host, producer Eric Fisher. Joining me this week, we have member of the Highway 22 crew, Sean Klosterman. Sean, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, good. We've had an eventful couple weeks since we last recorded, and plenty for us to talk about. And we're going to try to do it in the best way we know how, which is with very little insight and our unsolicited opinions.
Exactly.
So, with that said, do always want to give a shout out to our friends over at Raging Pro Wrestling RPW 2-day event coming up on November 7th and 8th out at the Big Apple in Manitowoc. For that event, it'll be RPW Perseverance, brand new event for RPW. And part of that event, not only the only part of the event, but part of that event will be the 2025 RPW Midwest Cup with some of the best talent throughout the area and throughout the indie pro wrestling scene. So you're going to want to get your tickets now. They are available at Look Sharp in the Fox River Mall and at RagingProWrestling.com. And I believe also at the Big Apple in Manitowoc. So November 7th, which is a Friday, and November 8th, which is a Saturday, back-to-back nights out at the Big Apple in Manitowoc. Tickets are going fast. Get your tickets now. Do also want to thank our sponsors who came on the show and continue to sponsor us every week. It's a rotating cast. So, as always, your listenership really does matter because the more you listen, we might actually get paid. It is not a guarantee by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a possibility. So your listenership and listening to the episode does go even longer than once before. With that, Sean, we get into the episode and we talk about what we had rooted for in the past really week and a half. And I'll let you kick this off.
Well, I think the thing that we both had rooted for was Brewers, and then just decided to just lay a big fat egg and ran into a buzzsaw pretty much. But
Yeah, we'll talk about that more throughout the episode. I do have a lot of thoughts on that. I'm going to echo that sentiment as well. And in my other root for the weekend, I do want to give a credit, and this probably should be a noogie, but I find it hilarious. Um, I want to give my root for this week to the fact that the New York Mafia is still alive and well. And if you're living under a rock and have no idea what I'm referring to, it is like the Gambino family, all the like legendary mafia families just got implicated and busted in this massive gambling scandal involving NBA players and coaches and inside information. And as terrible as it actually is, I found it so funny that of all the people, like Terry Rozier is involved in this. Chauncey Billups, as a coach, not a player, is involved. Um, and it's also involving sports betting and prop bets as well as poker.
right,
It's really, I mean, if you would have told me, Sean, like even earlier this week, that there were like Bluetooth and like see-through poker tables and contact lenses and like how you can fix poker with that type of technology and whatnot, I would have called you insane.
right,
And again, am I rooting for the mafia? Absolutely not. Do I find this absolutely hilarious though? Absolutely.
yeah,
This is like the funniest thing in the world to me. And obviously, it does stink because there are people who did lose money because of fixed situations, like Terry Rozier betting the under on his lines, then taking a foot injury to get out of the rest of the game and essentially the rest of the season to really head off his numbers.
right.
So is that part wrong? Yes. And the fact that people did lose money on something that is supposed to be truly a gamble, it's not supposed to be fixed like that. But is it the fact that the Gambinos and a guy, what was the name of the guy who like was like the main coordinator? It was like Joey Juice or something like that. like the last name obviously isn't Juice, but that was his like mafia nickname. I think it's just awesome.
Hmm.
I mean, if it like hearing that news report that came out today, it felt like rewatching Sopranos.
Right.
And I'm always going to be in favor of that, even as again terrible as it is. But did it make me laugh? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that is my other root for this week, which takes us into our noogies of the week. And I'm also going to give a noogie to that whole situation as well. And honestly, I can't even give one to the Brewers, and we'll talk about that later in the show. Um, I can't do it. I would probably, if I had to give a noogie Brewers related, I would probably give one to Brewers fans who turned on like Christian Yelich and Bryce Terang and all these guys. Like, yeah, they didn't have a great series, and for that matter, really a great postseason. But what drives me insane, and we know that I dislike fans quite a bit who are uneducated on things.
No, I can't believe that.
But this stat that went around where Christian Yelich hasn't had an RBI in the postseason since 2018 drove me incredibly insane because the guy didn't play in last year, so he didn't play in 24, he didn't play in 19, and in 21 he batted leadoff. So he's not even getting
Mhm.
RBI opportunities as much per se. Outside of like
Right.
a solo home run or maybe like the bottom of the order guy, ninth to to the leadoff spot. So he wasn't in our RBI opportunities in three of those six postseasons. And like, yeah, should he have had one maybe this year? Sure. They had a 5 game set against the Cubs. He had, then 4 games against the Dodgers. That's 9 games. But every other postseason, they've had 3 games or less, other than 2021. 2019, they had the 1 game which he was out. 2020, 2020, they played 3 games against, or best of 3 against the Dodgers, get swept in 2 games. So that's 2 games. 21, they had, I think that one went 4, but again, he's batting leadoff. So maybe you count 2 essentially between the limited opportunity.
Right.
And then 22, they don't make the playoffs. 23 was 2 games. And then last year he was out for the 2 games. So really, you're dwindling this down to not having an RBI. The 9 games this year, I will agree with for the most part. But before this season, because that was something that even popped out like in the like game 2 of the Cubs series, was that he hadn't had one since 2018. It's well, yeah, but he's played in like 4 games basically.
Right.
So that's mine. And then also, I mean, just Packer fans during the Cardinals Packer game. I don't think people realize how much that plane incident really can mess up a professional team.
Yeah, but you're playing a backup quarterback. I mean,
Yeah, but it's not like you're playing like a scrub. You're playing, I mean, Jacoby Brissett's probably one of the
no.
better backups in the league. And
Right.
this
I
is
think.
a better than 2-4 Cardinals team. Like they are a good team.
Right.
They've lost, I think their combined 4 losses, or now 5 losses, have been by like a combined 10 points.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It was some.
I
It
mean,
was some. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think the other thing that, you know, there's no slouches in the NFL.
No.
And maybe this is just trying to cope and you know, be sound smarter than I actually am. But you got to remember, at one point, Aaron Jones was a third string running back.
Right.
And whether that's flawed or not, it is the reality of the situation that for his first like season and a half in Green Bay, he was a third string running back. So to sit here and criticize about whether it be backups or, whatever, I'm not buying that because everybody's a pro. And
They
sometimes
did.
it's just a matter of opportunity.
Just look at the USFL compared to watching NFL on Sundays. You can't watch it.
It's a night and day different game.
Right.
And, credit to the USFL for giving us Lucas Haversick.
Right.
But
No. We got the school that he was going to be a substitute teacher at.
them too. So, yeah, that's kind of I think fans overreacting is probably my other one. But I do have to go backwards for a quick root for. I did get to go to game one of the NLCS, and that was an incredible atmosphere for a baseball game. Stadium was incredible, the buzz of the whole thing. The only downside was, that they lost, but they made it exciting.
Right.
And definitely something won't forget.
Right.
So that's my noogies for the week, Sean. What do you got?
I'm gonna. I don't know if this happened the last time we recorded or it was just after. I'm gonna give one to LeBron for acting like he was gonna retire and then promoting Hennessy, right?
Yeah, this was
Because
not before the last time that we were
it was
recording.
it was after. Okay,
Yeah, so you're good.
I'm definitely gonna give him a noogie for that because that was kind of shitty to do.
You know,
He
I
kind of
think
screwed everybody who bought um tickets for his final game and all
I
that kind
will
of.
agree with that. I'm a huge LeBron supporter and fan, but I remember, and I can tell this story now. So Dylan, who hasn't been available since we kind of restarted here, but Dylan is probably the only person who is as big, if not a bigger LeBron fan than me. It's like me, him, and Ramsey of the people that I know. And I think all three of us have different levels, but are pretty darn close to each other. Dylan was like nearly having a heart attack for a day and a half when the announcement like said, "Hey, LeBron's got the decision 2.0 or whatever." And he's like, "Is he going to retire this year? Is he retiring now? Is he going to retire after the season?" I'm like, "Well, I doubt it, but maybe. Like he's 41 years old. Like
Right,
the guy's been playing pro basketball for going on
longer
22 years now."
right longer than he was alive
Right.
for half his life, pretty much.
I think it's probably close at this point, if not
Well,
longer.
he's 23 years. I mean, he was 18.
That's true. So he's been playing in the NBA for the actual most of his life.
Mm-hmm.
The over half of his life has been in the NBA,
Right.
which is an insane sentence to even think about, but also say out loud. But yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
Dylan for a day and a half was like having like heart palpitations and stress and anxiety about that this coming season might be the last one of LeBron. And yeah, it was for a Hennessy ad. So I'll
Yeah.
I'll give you that one. I'm sure
Yeah.
Dylan would probably agree.
Right. And then I'm gonna give a noogie to Shauna
Oh,
for actually listening to you and sabotaging her team to lose on Sunday.
okay.
Oh.
Okay. Well, since we brought this up, so it is typical show fodder that there's the old saying that nobody cares about your fantasy team, but I mean, there's so much fantasy content out there for people who are
Right.
super invested into it. So
Yeah.
people care about fantasy football and fantasy sports, but nobody cares about your team. So in past seasons, we've updated the standings of the Root for Wisconsin Football League, Fantasy Football League, and we'll do that here just to bring this full circle because this needs to be talked about. And I'm glad that you chose to do this, Sean. I really am. So
Well,
in
we haven't talked about it that much, so.
we haven't. So just a quick update the standings. The defending champion in the East is in the East bracket, which I would argue is probably the stacked actual group. It's Tyson at 5-2. Ramsey and I are 4-3. You're at 3-4. Justin's 3-4. Dylan's at a pathetic 1-6. But the guy's been busy. I'll give him that.
Right.
Over in the West, Shauna's 6-1. Jordan Fifield's 4-3. David Muller's 4-3. Tony Tornator's 3-4. Jordan Fields 3-4. And Mark's bringing up the rear 2-5. So it's a very competitive league this year.
Mm-hmm.
Shauna coming into this last week was 6-0 and was playing Sean. And Shawna knows ball. Shawna knows ball. I want to be very clear about that. She does. But in typical fashion, she's asking me Sunday morning about, what should she do with her backup or with her quarterback spot because the Bills were on a bye this last week. And looking at the players who were available at the quarterback spot, it was like Carson Wentz, Spencer Rattler, Joe Flacco might have been available. No, he wasn't because they played on Thursday.
Yep.
But like it might have been Tua, who also got
Yeah.
benched. So the options out there weren't great.
Mm-mm.
And I made the recommendation. I'm like, the Vikings are a good enough team that they should be able to put something together around Carson Wentz. They've done okay behind him. And he's playing against Philadelphia at home or like in Minnesota, like kind of a revenge game type situation. I'm like, between Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson and Jordan Mason and TJ Hawkinson, and list goes on and on. They have a lot of talent there. So you're looking at who's going to be the best odds to have a good game.
Right.
So I advised Carson Wentz. And this is out of desperation. Also, like I want to be very clear about that. I am a firm believer in only drafting one quarterback because you can usually stream a quarterback in your main quarterback's bye week and you can have roster spots for other players. Now, is that a great mindset to have? Probably, maybe not. But that's what I believe in. Shauna believes in, and a lot of people. I think you yourself, other than this season, because you went with the young quarterback in Drake May.
Mm-hmm.
I would go on record saying I think you've also operated that way for the most of the time I've known you.
Yep. More than likely.
So, by no stretch of the imagination is this a terrible thing. The problem is the quarterback play outside of the top like seven guys has been absolutely garbage this year.
Right.
And it's also because there's so many young guys and because the amount of injuries. And the fact that Tyrod Taylor came in for Justin Fields, and that's an upgrade in the eyes of the Jets, is nothing short of hilarious.
Right.
So that's about where fantasy football is. Tua got benched for Quinn Ewers.
Mm-hmm.
That again, that all happened this week. So when looking at projections on Sunday, it was like, okay, Carson Wentz playing against kind of a spotty defense. The Eagles haven't been great defensively this year. Has plenty of talent around him. Or maybe Spencer Rattler. Spencer
Right.
Rattler played terribly. Carson Wentz also played terribly, but better than Spencer Rattler.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the only other recommendation I would have had would have been Michael Penix, who also put up 12 points. So there wasn't really a clear winner.
Yep. She should have added Joe Flacco for Thursday Night Football.
She should have. And
And
I would be the first to say that she should have. But that wasn't an option on Sunday morning when she's asking for help.
she
And
got she got to quit waiting until Sunday.
in turn, Sean gave her first loss. And the first thing she says to me is, "Oh man, Sean's gonna bust my apples." And I correctly said, "No, he's not, because he didn't beat me. If he had beaten me, I wouldn't stop hearing about it. But he beat you, so like, yeah, he's gonna say something about it, but he's not gonna be chirping you all week."
Right.
And I would say that's about accurate, other than this, and she's not even on the podcast to defend herself, but kind of is what
Right.
it is.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think it was that bad. And I mean, she was, if I'm not mistaken, that game wasn't close.
No.
So the quarterback spot wasn't really going to matter. Yeah, that was
No.
a 120-89 win for Sean over Shawna. So there really wasn't much happening there.
And she got a 40 burger out of Christian McCaffrey and
Right.
That pretty much made it close, or made it even closer than what it was.
Right. She also did have a 0 game out of JMO,
Right.
which she did have 24 points sitting there. But again, of the quarterbacks that were out there, there wasn't like anybody that really dominated. So
No.
that was probably going to happen no matter what. The
Right.
lesson here is because then she accused me of sabotaging her, which I did very much not. And she was more concerned about that and the fact that Sean beat her than the fact that she lost and that her players just didn't show up this week. But it was my
Hmm.
fault, apparently. But I agree, Sean. You put this back on her. Give her the
Yep.
adult responsibility. I
Yep.
appreciate that.
Yep. For listening to you. That's pretty much what it's come down to.
Well, that's not the noogie here, but anyway,
It's my noogie. I can do what I want with it.
do you have any others for the week?
No, I think that's it.
Well, I guess that's fair then. I'm still going to disagree, but I'll I mean I really can't not allow it because you did it, so
Right.
and quite frankly, I don't feel like going back to edit it out, so we're gonna leave it be. All right. Moving on, Wisconsin web story of the week. Do you want to do a fun one or something that's actually raising a lot of eyebrows, Sean? Sports
Ooh.
related or fun one?
What's the sports related one? Let's do that one.
So we'll do the sports one. And I'm going to be very clear. This is an ongoing process, so I'm not going to speak in favor of this one way or the other because I don't know what the problem is. But the sports one is the story that's kind of taken over the Green Bay news cycle with the Green Bay East High football coach was put on an administrative leave before their final game of the season. Now, Green Bay East High is not particularly great, but they have been better under their newer coach, Nico Sila. And he was put on leave on like the day of the game. Or the day before, so last Thursday, he was put on leave. And the district has not, the Green Bay Public Schools has not and refuses to comment on the situation because it's a personnel matter. They keep saying that's
Mhm.
their rationale of why they're not commenting on it. Um,
Okay.
so this has been this, like I said, this huge story in the Green Bay news cycle, and tonight's update was that there was a petition that went online with over 1,000 signatures on it, and that they had a meeting like a protest meeting at Joannes Park, which is nearby East High School, which coincidentally, or not maybe coincidentally, but for the sake of this, is home of City Stadium, which is where the Green Bay Packers originally started before moving to Lambeau Field. And the allegations really stem down to that he was allegedly undermining East administration staff to students, which I don't buy because he's part of the administration staff. He worked on like basically retention, from what I understand, about keeping kids and getting kids to school, and that he would be giving kids rides home from practice. Can you imagine suspend? And I get, for liability's sake, it's probably not the actual best thing given the culture and climate of 2025 and the things that have happened to student athletes, looking at, Penn State, Michigan State, Connell Falls. Things can happen between coaches and athletes that shouldn't
Right.
happen. Had to Theo Connell Falls knocking there too.
Hmm.
Um, but to say that, but to give rides home in we can be honest. East High is kind of not a great area of Green Bay. Like you're acting like a father figure for these kids who might not have a way home for multiple hours other than walking in pretty crappy areas of Green Bay.
Right.
And allegedly, the allegations. This is speculatory from the coach's wife because he cannot comment on the situation, and the district won't comment on it as they're reviewing this. but she is speculating that it didn't come from athletes or parents, but rather other coaches within the program. So, really an interesting situation going on at Green Bay East High, and one that, as an outsider looking in, I think it sounds like he was doing really good things. I'm curious on the undermining administrative staff when he's technically administrative staff as well. It sounded
Right.
like he was like, from what I've seen on social media, and this is all anecdotal, that he was always just a big advocate for making, his players better and like, go to school, be, don't be a follower, be a leader, that kind of stuff. Stand up for what you believe in, that kind of thing. So I think this is kind of a bad look that's blown up more than it probably should have.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
And the timing of it being the day before a game in which you're fighting for a playoff spot isn't great. So,
Yeah.
um, I also, just want to go on record saying, just while we're talking about the playoffs and high school football, I actually really enjoyed the new setup, and I didn't think I was going to. I don't know how closely you followed this year, Sean.
Haven't really been following too much.
So high school football went the old method that I want to say probably started in the 80s or 90s, was that you had to have a 500 record or better in your conference season to be eligible.
Okay.
And depending on how many teams qualified, then they would start kind of knocking it down. Like if you were one game under 500 in conference, so it's a 9 game season. Generally, rule of thumb is you play two non-conference games and seven conference games. So like you'd have to be 4-3. But if there wasn't enough teams in the divisions, they'd start looking at the 3 and 4 teams, the teams that might have, what might have went like 5-4 on the season, but maybe lost a non-conference game or won a
Hmm.
non-conference game or two. So they kind of dealt it that way. But you also never really knew what division you were going to be in, because there's competitive balance. And then again, depending on the amount of eligible teams, there was kind of determining factors in that. This year, they broke everybody down by division ahead of the season starting, so you already knew which one you'd be eligible in. And they had, for lack of a better term, kind of like a BCS system where it was like they would rank your opponent's strength of schedule, points, points against, et cetera, et cetera. And that's how they also did the seeding. So, like for Luxembourg, they ended up going 7-2, and we're in Division Three, and it was the top 32 teams in each division got it based on that, out of like 52, I think, or something like that. It was like 52, 53 total.
Okay.
So the top 32 teams based on that metric and all the qualifying factors got in, and they released preliminary reports as the season went along. So you kind of had an idea of where you were. And then they do like how they've done for basketball the last couple of years, they do a seating show instead of doing it at like a bar or restaurant like they've done years past for seating for the
Okay.
regions. So I actually really liked how it turned out. I'm sure there's teams that aren't a fan of how they got seated based on the computers and all that stuff. But I haven't really seen too much outrage. I think they got it really right this year. Um, as a whole, Luxembourg did draw a 3 seed and in a very tough like regional. Um, they'll have Fox Valley Lutheran for their opening game, and then they would play the winner, which, for assuming chalk, would be a road trip to Plymouth the following week with Grafton as the number 1 seed. But should be a lot of fun. We'll get to that more later in the episode. But also, I want to ask you this because this is something Ramsey and I've talked about throughout the season of doing broadcasting. Sean, in this day and age, could you imagine playing up to 14 football games
No.
right now?
No.
Because you play 9 regular season games, and then you can play, including a state championship, would be 5 playoff games.
Right.
My knees hurt talking about that.
Right. And then could you imagine doing three sports on top of it?
Right. Absolutely
So,
not. Absolutely not. But yeah, I mean, that's something that we've talked about. It's a 5 game playoff, which includes the championship game, which is kind of odd because you don't even get that really at the NFL level.
right.
But yeah, so yeah, playing a 14 game football season right now would not happen.
No, gosh,
Like
no.
I can't even imagine going backwards to being 17 years old and having that happen.
Right.
I mean, kudos to those guys.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Want to thank our wonderful sponsors for making this and all of our podcasts possible. Um, Not that we did any work for it, but thank you. And if it is something that we can support this week, great. If it's a public service message, do what they say. Simple as that. Now into Wisconsin sports for the week, and the Bucks started this week, but man, regular season NBA is so hard to follow.
Mm-hmm. It
I
is.
mean, they won, they're 1-0. That's all I really got on it. So with that, Sean, we'll do a little Badger talk here because things are still terrible. Um, 2 back-to-back shutouts. Pretty sure both were at home. And yeah, things are just really bad for them, and they have continued to not do anything about it.
Yeah. It's been rough.
And I will say, the first thing I do want to go on record saying is to an extent, I get not hiring a new coach right now because the buyout for Luke Fickell at this point would be over $20 million.
Right.
And to that extent, I get it. That's a lot of money for a program because it's not just $20 million you're paying because you have to hire all new staff, which you're also probably going to lose a good chunk of your roster. So you're going to have new NIL money and uh, money shares and whatnot for the NIL deals. And then you also have to hire a new coach and new staff, which I think a new coach, the going rate's probably about 5 million a year right now, give or take.
Yeah.
So you're looking at that. Plus, you're probably combined staff of probably another 2 to 3 for the full coaching staff that comes into a or to a college football program. So really, that $20 million transaction, which it still is a lot,
Mm-hmm.
is more like probably about a $30 to $40 million transaction, if not more, between player turnover, coach buyouts on the rest of the staff, and new coaches.
Right.
And I don't know if they're still paying how this broke down. If they might still be paying Christ. I
Yeah.
don't know if he took his as a lump sum because you can either choose to take it as a lump sum or take it spaced out.
The Bobby
So
Bonilla deal.
essentially, I mean, it's really over the course of the length of the deal. But like James Franklin is going to get paid. I think it's if he's smart, he could go to a program for like a bare minimum deal and do them a solid, and Penn State has to pay the difference for whatever he'd be like being paid for.
Right.
So I'm personally in favor of, he should take something less and go to a program, but I'm also not in favor of paying $40 million for a new coaching staff for a program that would have been here anyway. So we've gone back and forth on that enough throughout the last couple episodes. I'm not going to rehash anything. Um, for those who are surprised they didn't make the move after this last week, I'm not, because even if they were planning to fire Fickle, they're not going to do that before going on a road game on prime time in Eugene for Oregon.
Yeah. Isn't this the worst they've ever been? Um.
They're a 35.5 point underdog this week.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the worst they've ever been, but it's probably close if it's not. I don't know if they were setting
Yeah.
betting lines back in those teams in the 70s and 80s that would maybe win a game a season. But Yeah, things are bad. And the only thing I have to say about them is that I feel bad for the players, and quite frankly, Luke Fickell is probably only still having a job because every single season he's been the head coach, his like starting two quarterbacks, and so his starter and his backup have gotten injured
Right.
each of the three seasons. So I will give a slight pass on that. But yeah, things are bad, and things are
Mhm.
going to be a lot worse this week unless Oregon just absolutely drops an absolute egg. No pun
Yeah.
intended.
Yeah, I don't think
So
that's going to happen though.
no. So if they were going to fire him, it wouldn't be before playing the sixth ranked team in the country on the road in prime time after playing the number one team in the country. Like that's not what's going to happen.
No.
So do with that what you will.
Yeah, just don't watch the game.
Yeah, I might watch this week. I watched nothing from this last two games, and I couldn't even tell you like box score stats. I didn't even look. I had no interest in it.
No.
The only thing I saw in the game was I had the notification on my phone that says, "Oh, hey, they lost. Oh, they lost 30 something to nothing. At least the Buckeyes covered."
Right.
So I will say though, for the Badgers' next home game, which is November 1st, I think, tickets are incredibly affordable. If you had to guess, Sean, it'd be Washington, who also isn't great. But
Are they
ticket
less than $10 a ticket?
not yet, but they
Pretty
are
close.
close. The cheapest ticket to get into Camp Randall with ticket fees is $14.
Wow. Well, that's including the fees? Holy
That's
man.
including fees through game time. That's for two tickets. So let me just see one.
Oh, that's $14 for two tickets?
Well, that's per ticket,
Oh,
but usually you can only buy them as like a set of two or a set of
yeah,
three. Like if I go to just one ticket, they don't usually sell just one.
right.
That's looks like $20 is the cheapest for just an individual one. But
Okay.
for two, right now, $14. And that's the upper deck. The lower bowl cheapest ticket is $19 with fees.
Nice.
Pretty close to where we sat that one time that we were in what section C or D or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Row A, which is like the corner of the end zone, is for row 23, $28.
Mm.
Row 13, $13, $34. So there are
Oh.
some good tickets out there if you are an absolute glutton for punishment.
So you're not going?
The thing is, probably not. But if they do drop down quite a bit, like because I'll say this last Badger game I went to was something that Ramsey and I bought day of game, and I think
Mhm.
with fees our tickets were like $8 each.
Yeah.
And I want to apologize to the good people at Washington because I just said that they weren't that good this year. They're 5-2. So my apologies to the Husky fans who probably aren't listening. But they just lost to Michigan, and that's what was on top of mind. They lost
Uh,
24-7 to Michigan, but they had beaten Rutgers and Maryland the 2 weeks before that. They boat raced Washington State. Their last two losses are within the last month. They also lost to Ohio State, but everyone else they beat, which Colorado State not good. They beat UC Davis 70-10, and they
mm.
beat Washington State 59-24. So my apologies, Husky fans. My bad. If we have any out there, this one's on me. So, all right. Brewers, yeah, we talked about this a little bit in the open. Brewers beat the Cubs in best of five in game five, won their first playoff series since 2018. The NLCS did not go as well. lost four straight to the Dodgers, including probably one of the best single game playoff performances of all time by Shohei Ohtani in the decisive game four. Struck out 10 batters, hit 3 home runs. One of them, no, it was a 3-run home run, a solo shot, maybe a 2-run home run. I don't know what
Yeah,
the other one was, but he did a lot. He did the most,
he
and
single-handedly beat him. So
you can't really say that a lot in the modern world of baseball, but he really
no,
did. He really single-handedly beat them in game four. Um, which, I know we talk about Wisconsin heartbreak and, disappointment and all that. To be honest with you, Sean, I don't really put this in that group.
no, not
Like
really.
I've seen TikToks like, oh, this is like the 2014 uh, NFC Championship game and the 2019 Eastern Conference Finals for the Bucks, or even like the 2018 NLCS where they lost in Game 7. And it's like, no, like yeah, it sucked, but if I'm being honest, this one, I mean, it stings because you're trying to do it for Uke and stuff, but I'm not like considering this a heartbreaking one. I look at this as a young team that ran out of gas.
Right.
They put so much, my opinion, my read on the thing is they put so much mental energy and effort into that Cubs series and winning a playoff series for the first time since 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're being honest, also like their second playoff series they've won since like the 82 season because they didn't win in 20 or 2008. They did win one series in 2011. They didn't make the playoffs till 2018. And then they haven't won a series since then. So your first playoff series win since 1982, essentially, other than 2011,
Because between 82 and what, 08,
2008. Yeah, they didn't
08,
make it at all.
right?
So yeah, this one it stings, but it doesn't suck.
Right.
I will say, just kind of going back, the being at game one was really cool. People standing and cheering with the entire game. The South Frelick play that saved, well, up to 4 runs
Yeah.
was insane. And the coolest thing about that, just being in the stadium, is that they didn't show it on the board at all because the Dodgers challenged right away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, all these fans, me and Aaron included, were like looking around like we have no idea what's going on.
I don't
Like,
think any of the players knew either what the heck was going on.
unless you watch the John Boy breakdown, which there's probably about 4 players, I think, in the build, 4 people or let me rephrase that. There are 6 people in the building, I think, that knew what was happening.
Right.
It was Bryce
Maybe
Terang, Joey
yeah.
Ortiz, the left field umpire that came out and made the call, the home plate umpire who also saw the umpire make the call,
Mm-hmm.
and Bill Contreras.
Right. Because the announcers didn't know what was going on, anything. When
And
you
I think Tyler Glasnow on the bench of the Dodgers knew. But that was about it. Like, so there's, conservatively speaking, probably about 43,000 people there between the sellout players, staff, people sitting in the parking lot. About 6 knew. And I don't know what that breaks down to for percentage wise.
yeah, not very good.
But even if we round it down, 6 divided by 42,000, 0 point, it's like 0.1% of people
Right.
knew what happened. 0.14.
Yeah.
Actually, it's less than that. 0.014% of people knew what happened. So that was really cool. Also, I'm not going to give a noogie on this, but there was enough dumb people out there saying, well, Bryce Terang should have worn that pitch and it would have tied the game, and then he struck out. No one's intentionally taking a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, even if it's off the leg. Like, your
Right.
body, you have milliseconds to react to a pitch if you're going to swing or not. Your body isn't being like, oh, I can take this pitch. No, you're
Right.
getting out of the way. You have fractions of a millisecond. I'm not gonna get on the guy for not taking the pitch to the leg.
No, no, no way.
I mean, it's easy to point at that because yeah, then he scores, brings up Andrew Vaughn. Who knows what happens? But yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
about that.
anybody that says that can wear that 98-mile-an-hour pitch and see how they feel about
Right.
it, because nobody would ever volunteer for something like that.
I know I'm not. I don't know. There's probably people out there. I'm just thinking of like Happy Gilmore sitting in the batting cage in the first movie, taking uh batting cage balls off the chest to prepare for hockey tryouts the following season. But I know I'm not. I know you're not
No,
volunteering to take 98 off the leg.
no, not at all.
So yeah, unfortunate happens. But you have a young team that
It's a $1 billion team versus $120 million team.
right like show like I think somebody had said, and I didn't look at this exactly, but Shohei Ohtani's contract, his per year is more than the entire Brewers pitching staff.
Hmm.
So and the guy pitches, I mean, he pitches once every I think like 8 days because of his DH role, so he's not even like pitching on like a 5-man rotation,
Right?
and he DHs. And he's an incredible ball player. This isn't a knock on Shohei. This is
No,
just
he's worth every penny.
this is just the nature of where the MLB is, and it's not something that I'm going to sit here and advocate for a salary ceiling or salary cap. I don't really love that in baseball because it just makes teams being able to get around it more creatively.
Right?
Like you're going to start seeing deals with signing bonuses that don't count towards the cap, just like the NBA is.
Oh, want to shout out the Clippers or
Yeah, right. Allegedly,
right?
allegedly. But there's 1,000 ways to get around it, and teams are going to be able to do that. So
Right.
I'm not in favor of
Let the
that.
players get their money.
Right, and I think I'm more advocating for a salary floor than a salary cap.
Right.
But that's neither here nor there. Those are decisions way above our heads.
Right.
But so, yep, Brewers, they fall one of the final four teams of the season. Really, you ran into a buzzsaw and you ran out of gas. What are you going to say?
Exactly. Exactly.
That leads us to our Packers talk for the evening. And the Green Bay Packers at 4-1-1, which
One of
is
the only two one-loss teams,
that
technically.
is that is correct. One of the only two one-loss teams. First in the division, we'll take it. So I'm feeling very positive about things. You have to find ways to win ugly games, and that's exactly what they did this week. This last week, they won ugly against a better than their record Cardinals team that a lot of people probably wrote off. And again, pointing towards that whole situation with the plane being on the runway for 6 hours is enough to really throw things off. And it shouldn't be, if you just say that out loud, it's like, oh yeah, people have plane delays all the time. Pro athletes, especially in the NFL, are the most like regimented people, and your whole thing was off. I found out last night that the offense did a walkthrough on the tarmac
Hmm?
of the at the airport once they landed. That they did a walkthrough at the tarmac. Special teams did like a short walkthrough when they landed. And then they still had meetings once they finally got to Phoenix.
Yeah.
So the whole thing was all out of whack. But a win's a win. They
Right.
survived.
On to the next one.
Michael Parsons had his biggest game as a Packer. Three should have been 4 sacks, which if we want to just, I typically don't give noogies to or root for us for things that we're going to talk about throughout the episode. That hip drop tackle is such a stupid rule.
Yeah, it is.
I get the intent of it, but by like the definition of it and the core of what they wanted it to be. It's basically so you don't like roll the guy's legs up under you as you do it. Micah kicks
Right.
his legs out, so that didn't even happen. How else are you supposed to tackle from behind? Like that's human physics.
Right.
So I am. You can put me down for not in favor of the penalty for hip drop tackles, and to call the first one on the guy who criticized the NFL officiating. I'd argue rightfully so because you just watch him. They called one holding.
Yeah. Yeah, it's getting pretty rough with all that kind of stuff.
But like you said, Sean, win's a win. You move on to the next one. You've got the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, and I think this is going to be a tough one for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I didn't look at the betting line on this, but I can't imagine the Packers are favored. And if they are, it's
No,
slightly.
I was gonna say it's probably pretty even, I would think.
Green Bay is a 2.5 point favorite, which if I'm putting money on this, I'm probably taking Pittsburgh to win outright at plus 135.
You think Pittsburgh's winning this weekend?
Well, here's why. All right. And this is going to be equal parts why I think Green Bay
Because
is
you
going to.
love Aaron Rodgers?
No, I'm not even factoring that part of this whole thing. This is looking at this rationally. The Green Bay secondary is terrible.
Yeah, they are.
And, for the people out there that think LaFleur's LaFraud and that they should fire LaFleur and yada, 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 LaFleur, there's times where, like any head coach, you make a questionable decision on a play call. I didn't love on that opening possession, the 3rd and 4 run before they went for it on 4th down and aired it out to Romeo Doubs and Jordan Love just slightly overthrows him. I like
Right.
the decision to go for it. The play concept was there. Like, I think Dobbs actually kind of flattened the route out a little bit. I think if he runs that more vertical, he's probably making that catch. But you got the matchup you wanted. The quarterback just missed.
Hmm.
Even on that last possession before the 4th down that they went for it, everybody criticized that run play, which they ran that pitch play to the left or to the right. I thought that was brilliant. It didn't work, but it was a brilliant concept
Yeah.
because they start the play in shotgun, come on out of the huddle in shotgun. Love rushes up to be under center. Everybody and their brother is going to assume that you're going up the middle, whether it be quarterback sneak, tush push, halfback dive, what have you. Instead, you pitch the ball to probably your best offensive playmaker right now, one of in Josh Jacobs, and you put faith in your right tackle to make a block, who, by all metrics, has been your best offensive lineman in the last like 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it does happen that right tackle, Zach Tom, is playing very injured and has not looked good since being injured. And maybe that should have came into concept, but I still like a even 80% Zach Tom against most defensive players in the NFL.
Right.
So I think that's a calculated risk, and it didn't work that time, but the concept I think was there.
Mm-hmm.
To that same end, because people are also criticizing Jeff Halfley, like, oh, why are they playing zone? This is like Joe Barry 2.0. It's because the cornerbacks suck, and
Yeah.
they have to. They don't have a good enough cornerback to play man straight up. And to that end, they really don't have good enough corners to play really aggressive zone.
No.
You play to what you have. And if there's anybody that needs to kind of be reviewed, I think it actually might be Gutekunst.
Oh, for not signing anybody or drafting anybody?
Well, yeah, to not address, well, let me rephrase that because they did draft one, they did sign one. But when your biggest area of concern on your defense coming into the season before trading for Micah Parsons, by the way, was your cornerback situation. You let three walk. You cut Jair. You don't sign Eric Stokes. You don't sign Corey Ballantyne. And quite frankly, I'm ultimately fine with all three of those decisions. I mean, would it be nice to have Jair playing if he was healthy? Great, but he's not, and he hasn't been this year either. So I get it. And that's a big reversal for me.
Mm-hmm. That is.
But to that same end, when you lose three, you sign one who isn't good and is a like zone slot corner and special teamer and think that he's going to make up for three, and then you draft one and ultimately cut him. I don't understand how you can expect any different results other than what's happening right now.
Yeah.
I'm honestly at a loss of what you expect to happen when you don't even have a net positive at a position or even a net break even. You lose three, you sign one.
Yeah.
I don't understand what the line of thinking is there.
And there's no reason why Keyshawn Nixon isn't a number one corner.
No,
So,
he is
and
playing above his. I would say he's playing above expectation
right, 100% he is.
because he's got. I think he's probably close to, if not leading the league in pass breakups and passes defended.
But
But he's
yeah,
still terrible.
right. And Nate Hobbs coming over from Oakland, right? Or not Oakland,
Vegas,
Vegas.
yeah, he is a glorified special team and slot corner,
Right.
and
I thought he was going to be way better than what he's been, but he's been just horrible.
he has been. And that happens. Sometimes you sign somebody and they don't pan out. I'm not going to criticize the decision to sign him.
No.
It was what it was. But yeah, I can't comprehend that now because you decided to not draft anybody early, and then you go make the Michael Parsons trade, which does cover up for some of the secondary.
Yeah. But it also shows if we don't get pressure, what happens.
Right. And now you
So
don't have a first round draft pick the next two seasons, which is fine because they really haven't hit on first round draft picks as a whole, other than maybe this year with Matthew Golden. I think he looks the part.
right.
But aside from Matthew Golden, I mean, Jordan
Jordan
Morgan's a question mark. Lucas Van
Jordan
Ness,
Jordan Love was the last one.
yeah, 2020.
And everybody questioned that one at the time.
Right. And he didn't play for 3 years. Like that's
Right.
well, he made a couple spot starts, but he didn't start for 3 seasons.
Right.
And I think that's a good thing. That's how you develop quarterbacks properly. But the reality is he didn't start. But when you look at your immediate impact guys, jury's still out on Lucas Van Ness. I think, the Micah Parsons signing or trade and sign looks better and has made him into a better player, but he's been hurt this season.
Right.
But we've
But
gotten better production out of him. But aside from Jordan Love, maybe Rashawn Gary.
he when we Gary was 12, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Gary was 12 and Van Ness was 14 or 13 or something.
Something around that, yeah.
So I don't know. I wouldn't even consider Sean Gary a hit. It's not a Clay Matthews,
Well, and I mean, Devontae Wyatt's been good, but again, not that same level hit. Quay Walker's been good, but not that same level hit. They've been
right.
productive, but if you're looking for what you need to consider as a first round impact, it hasn't lived up other than, again, maybe Jordan Love. I shouldn't say maybe Jordan Love, but
Yeah.
Jordan Love and maybe Rashawn Gary. I mean, he's been good. He's made a Pro Bowl, but even he had to develop a little bit.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I think the Packers are going to struggle in this one. Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he turned back the clock on a short week last week. And yeah, he's playing a Bengals secondary, which is terrible. But he did it with the tight ends and DK. Like DK Metcalf didn't do much last week.
No.
And I feel like DK is going to have a great game this week.
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
So
I do think Green Bay pulls it out in the end, but I would not bet on it.
like I said, I think the smart money might be on Pittsburgh either covering or winning outright. I am going to be rooting for the Packers to win. As much as I do love Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to be rooting for the Packers to win. However, if I had to bet on it, I'd be probably leaning towards Pittsburgh
Right.
at plus 135. So that's how I sit on that. And actually, if you go to Novig, you might even have better odds because Novig does have some of the best odds out there. Novig right now, legal to play in Wisconsin from your phone, has the Steelers at plus 148. Do with that what you will. Play responsibly. But if you do go there, use code BIGGE. All right. Sean, let's wrap this thing up with what are you rooting for in the upcoming week or so? Till the next time we record.
Well, next time I'm just gonna go with the Packers, just rooting for the Packers. And my mother-in-law's birthday is tomorrow, and my dad's birthday was Monday. So
yes, happy birthday to the people.
So that's about all I got.
All right, I'm going to throw in, obviously, Packers. I don't have any upcoming birthdays, but I'm going to throw in my Luxembourg cast of Spartans that I've seemingly adopted and been taken in by that city. Playoffs start this week. They have a 3 versus 6 matchup, I believe, against Fox Valley Lutheran. Winner very likely goes on to Plymouth, but if Plymouth gets upset, they would host a second round game. So hopefully my next couple Fridays here, next few Fridays are quite busy, but definitely excited for high school football playoffs to start this week and be on the call at least for one more week. Ideally 2 or 3, but if not 5. So with that, we'll wrap up here. And our final thing we do have to go through is our Ticket Smarter Ticket of the Week. And I don't know. Do we give it to the Badgers? Yeah, I suppose.
Give it to the Bucks. Bucks opening week. Or did they play at Fiserv already?
They did play at Fiserv last night.
Oh, okay.
But we'll go. How about the Milwaukee Bucks? Tuesday, October 28th. Tickets through Ticket Smarter are on sale. You can get them for, looks like before fees, $26 for the cheapest ticket right now. Use code ROOTS10, get $10 off your every order through Ticket Smarter. With that wraps up episode 171. I'm Eric, that's Sean. For Shawna, Justin, Dylan, and Ramsey who aren't here, we are signing off. Thanks for listening. Have a great, couple weeks. See ya.
See ya.